Welcome to the MLB Desk Podcast. I'm your host, Alec Pecado. On today's show, you will get my top 5 weekend series to watch, sink or swim a new segment, my top 5 pitching matchups to watch, waiver wire, and 2 bold predictions for the weekend. Let's jump in without any further ado. Share screen. And we start with my top 5 weekend series to watch. At number 5, I've got the third place Twins visiting the third place Arizona Diamondbacks. The Twins have surprised a lot of people this year. And I personally think this is going to be one of the better 3-game sets this weekend. The Diamondbacks, Jordan Lawler just came back from the IL, and he's looked good since coming off the IL. And you will hear me talk more about this series later on in my top 5 pitching matchups. Little teaser. At number 4, we have the 4th place Pirates and the 5th place Colorado Rockies. You know that Paul Skeens is going in one of these games, and the Rockies are not going to be able to get a hit off of it. Well, they might get a hit or a run off of him, but all these weekend series I don't think are going to be sweeps. I think the only one that might be a sweep is the first one, is the number 1. But back to number 4. So the Pirates have been playing past expectations this year. And I just love how the Pirates are playing this year. Their young guys are stepping up. We don't know when Connor Griffin's going to be back. But I don't think it hurts the Pirates here. They need to sweep. I'm saying this right now. They need to sweep the Rockies. If they can't sweep Colorado, then there's issues. And the NL Central is one of the more competitive divisions in baseball. At number 3, I have the 3rd place Washington, and I'm saying this with all the confidence in the world. The 3rd place Washington Nationals visiting the 2nd place Tampa Bay Rays. Something's got to give here with the Rays. They had a horrible West Coast trip through LA. They took 1 game from the Angels, and they got swept by the Dodgers. And all 3 of those games against the Dodgers, they had opportunities to win. They were all 1-run games. They didn't get blown out in any of them. I think returning home for the Rays is going to do them wonders. And I think there's a chance the Rays could sweep Washington, but I think it's more likely that the Rays are going to take 2 or 3 from Washington. At number 2, we have the 2nd place St. Louis Cardinals and the 4th place Kansas City Royals. This is a rivalry series. 3 games in Kansas City. I believe the Royals went to St. Louis earlier. I think it was in the month of May. It took 2 out of 3 from Kansas City at home. So let's see if they can take 2 out of 3 in. I stand corrected. 2 out of 3 in St. Louis. Now let's see if St. Louis can do the same thing in Kansas City. And at number 1, it's a battle of heavyweights. It is the Atlanta Braves in first place in the NL East and the first place NL Central leading Milwaukee Brewers. This is going to be a heavyweight battle, and I am sure that there might be a sweep here for either the Braves or Milwaukee. But there is a juicy pitching matchup in this series that you will hear me talk about in a little while. But I'm going to briefly cover this game. The Braves have played really well this year without the services of, obviously, Jerickson Profar, who's been out the entire season because he's suspended for PEDs, without Spencer Schwalbach, who's recovering from injury, without Spencer Strider, who's been on the IL twice this year. So they've had a makeshift rotation of Chris Sale and Hurston, well, not Hurston Waldrop, but Chris Sale, Bryce Elder, Grant Holmes, and a couple other guys. The bullpen has been really good for the Braves. And to briefly cover Milwaukee here, keep an eye. I don't know if he's pitching this series. I don't believe he is. But Kyle Harrison, actually, I don't usually do this on live, but let's go and look at the pitching matchups so tonight, for the Braves and the Brewers, the pitching matchup is, and you will hear me talk about it later, I need to make a little... I'm doing this live, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry. It is not for sale. It is... You're seeing this live. Again, that's why we look at the pitching matchups twice. But I'm going to act like I didn't see that. But the pitching matchups are, and I kind of spoiled what number one was on my pitching thing for my top 5 pitching matchups to watch. But so be it. And ignore that I fixed it on stream, please, because that's my fault. I meant to look at it twice. But anyway, to a segment, a new segment I'm debuting on the show today called Sink or Swim, where you get three bullet points in each. And for swim, our third one is the St. Louis Cardinals make the playoffs. The Cardinals have surprised everybody this year by being better than... I will even take credit here. I said the Cardinals were not going to be good this year because they're rebuilding, and I'm okay with being wrong. I'm totally okay with being incorrect on that statement before the season. And I guarantee you my co-host over on Around the Diamond, Brad, is also fine with being wrong about that statement that both of us made in the offseason before the season started. So that is number 3. My number 2 swim topic that I'm going to talk about is Spencer Jones. I think Spencer Jones is going to end up sticking with the Yankees because there is no timetable for Aaron Judge's return, and there is no timetable right now for the return of Giancarlo Stanton because, yet again, he tweaked his calf running the bases in a rehab assignment. So, and us baseball fans, we know that if you run on an injured hamstring or calf, it's not fun. It's not a good thing. So Spencer Jones is probably going to stick with the Yankees for another month and a half, or at least until either Stanton or Judge comes back for the Yankees. One of those or both of those guys. Because once one or both of them comes back, Spencer Jones is probably the first guy to get sent down. And number one, the Tampa Bay Rays trade for a starting pitcher at the deadline. Yes, I like the rotation the Rays have right now with Rasmussen, McClanahan, Martinez, Jax, and it looks like Ian Seymour maybe. But I'm sorry, when you get to playoff time, that doesn't scare teams. I mean, that top three might, Martinez, McClanahan, and Rasmussen, Martinez, McClanahan, that might scare people, but the 4 and 5, they're going to be like, oh, if it gets to game 5 or game 6, I'm not scared of a Griffin Jax or a Ian Seymour starting for the Rays. Now, if the Rays can go out, and I'm not saying they have to trade for Tarek Skubal, but they need to trade for a starting pitcher that would help lengthen the rotation. Maybe it's Sonny Gray from the Red Sox. Maybe it is a guy that I'm going to talk about in the sink category. And maybe it is Tarek Skubal, because the Rays do have the prospects to get a Tarek Skubal trade done. Does it happen? I don't think so. Now we get to the sink. Now we get to the sink portion of the segment. And at number 3, we have the Red Sox won't trade Trevor Story. And I am saying this with all due respect to Trevor Story. Trevor Story is out of his prime, and I don't see a team that would want to take on the money to trade for Mr. Story. And a Trevor Story trade, I'm not saying it's out of the question, but I'm saying there's a low percentage chance of a guy like Trevor Story getting moved at the deadline. Number 2, the Twins won't trade Byron Buxton. I think Byron Buxton doesn't get... I am supremely confident that Byron Buxton will not get moved at the trade deadline unless a team just blows away the Twins with a prospect package that probably consists of 2 top 10 prospects, 1 top 15 prospect, and somebody that is MLB ready. So that is 5 prospects and somebody that's MLB ready. So 6 guys total for Byron Buxton. I think if Buxton gets moved, it's probably going to be in the winter or in the offseason. And number 1, Tarek Skubal will not be traded at the trade deadline. I'm going to repeat that again. And you can clip it if I am wrong. Tarek Skubal will not get moved at the trade deadline. He will not be traded. I think this arm injury, and yes, I know he just came back, but I think this arm injury, this elbow thing, that issue that he had, is going to scare teams away from trading for him. And I think he's going to end up staying with the Tigers, and the Tigers are going to be able to sign him to a short-term, maybe a 2 or 3 year contract extension, and then maybe look into trading him next season or in the offseason if he doesn't hit free agency. Now we get to my top 5 pitching matchups to watch. At number 5, and it's happening tomorrow night, it is Taj Bradley going for the Twins, who the Rays, I don't want to say gave up on, but just it seems like they did against Zach Gallen for the Diamondbacks. Now back to Bradley. Taj Bradley's having a, dare I say, breakout season for the Twins. Yes, a breakout season for the Twins. And I think the Jacks for Bradley trade last year at the deadline, I think it's a win-win at this point for both teams. I know Rays fans are going to disagree with me. And they're going to say, oh, you think it's a win-win, but to us, it's a win-loss. Because the Twins wanted to trade because they got Taj Bradley and he's turning into maybe their future ace. And Griffin Jacks didn't work out in the bullpen, and now you're transitioning him to the rotation. But, like I said, I think personally, my opinion is I think it is a win for both sides because the Twins had to get rid of Griffin Jacks at the trade deadline last year. And they called up the Rays and said, you know what, Rays, do you have anybody we want? And they said, yes, we have Taj Bradley. And Taj Bradley has turned into a nice young pitcher for that rotation for the Twins. And I think this is going to be a stellar pitching matchup on Saturday night. Number 4 is also a pitching matchup for tomorrow night. It is Freddie Peralta against, Phillies fans want to say, the guy that is the best pitcher in baseball, and he should be the hands-down Cy Young favorite in the NL. I disagree because there's a guy I'm going to talk about probably at number 3 and at number 1 that would have a big argument with that statement. And it is Christopher Sanchez going against Freddie Peralta tomorrow, Saturday afternoon. I think this is going to be a good pitching matchup. I don't think that I don't think there's going to be, I think there might be some scoring, but I don't think there's going to be a lot. At number 3, it is Garrett Cole against Chase Burns on Sunday. This is going to be probably the best pitching matchup of the weekend. Chase Burns, look at his ERA. I will tell you what Chase Burns' ERA is. Mr. Burns. Chase Burns, 8-1 with a 2.01 ERA and a 1.02 whip. Against Garrett Cole with a 2.57 ERA and a 1 whip on the nose. They weren't scoring runs in this game, and Chase Burns has been ridiculous this year. Ridiculous. My number 2 pitching matchup to watch this weekend is on Friday night, which is tonight. You've got Ranger Suarez going for the Red Sox and Bryce Miller going for the Mariners. The one thing I would say to watch out for in this game is the piggyback. Because it seems like, and that's on the Mariners side, because it seems like the Mariners are going in that direction where they're going, one starter goes 4 innings, and then you bring in Luis Castillo to finish out the game. But I still think that's going to be a really good pitching matchup. But my favorite matchup of the weekend is Jacob Misiorowski going tonight for the Brewers against Martin Perez. And Misiorowski, here's my top 3. I'll give you my top 3 for the Cy Young. before I give you the waiver wire. But Mizorowski has he's been utterly ridiculous this year. And here's my top 3 guys for the Cy Young. At number 3, and this is the NL Cy Young. Number 3, Christopher Sanchez. Number 2, Chase Burns. And number 1, Jacob Mizorowski. Now, we get to the waiver wire 2.0. And you know the drill. Do I need to give the whole spiel? I don't think I need to. At number 4 on the waiver wire 2.0 is Reds outfielder JJ Bleday. I think we can safely use the word breakout for JJ Bleday, as he is breaking out. He's only 56% rostered. And he's playing, it seems, almost every day. And I would even throw his teammate, Noelvi Marte, in there. Since Marte's gotten recalled, he's been playing third base. And Marte's been raking just like Bleday. So, if you have roster space, I would add both Noelvi Marte and JJ Bleday to your roster. At number 4 is a guy I just talked about in the pitching matchups so much. He starts tomorrow night for the Diamondbacks. It is Zach Gallen, 42% rostered. If you do like me and you stream every day, you stream pitchers off the waiver wire every day, I would stream Zach Gallen against the Twins. Their offense is okay. It's middle of the pack, but I would add Zach Gallen and stream him this week and keep him next week, because I believe next week he has 2 starts. And that's what you want in fantasy, is a guy that's lined up for 2 starts. At number 2 is Brewers shortstop Cooper Pratt, 6% rostered. If you need help at shortstop because you've got a guy like Willie Adames who's been up and down, or you just want some, and you're in a dynasty league and this guy's still available somehow, I would highly recommend adding Cooper Pratt. And there's a chance I'll probably talk about him on Sunday night in the waiver wire video that I'm going to do on Sundays. Because yes, ladies and gentlemen, Sunday nights, every other Sunday night is going to be a waiver wire video. And my number 1 waiver wire ad for waiver wire 2.0 is Rays closer Brian Baker, 74% rostered. How is this guy not at 80% rostered? I know there's people out there that need help in the closing department in fantasy baseball, and you've been streaming Riley O'Brien, which, don't get me wrong, Riley O'Brien's been really good. But I think you need to add Brian Baker. And that wraps up the waiver wire. That wraps up that part of the show. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to briefly show you the website before we end today's show. So here is the website. Here's where you can see waiver wire, power rankings, predictions from my MLB, college football. We have the post-spring rankings up, post-spring standings, college football trips, which I will tell you right now, Brad and I have not decided where we are going yet this year. And in the NFL, we don't have anything up yet. And then the new addition is if you click on this, on the button that says visit our merch store, you can see the merch. And that is the website. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember, like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss any future episodes of the podcast. Have a wonderful rest of your Friday morning. I will see everybody on Sunday with a play-by-play for the Rays game and waiver wire and a fantasy baseball waiver wire video. Have a wonderful rest